Greetings, diners, and welcome to another edition of the Collapse Cafe of the Doomstead Diner here in the world of collapse. And I'm starting a new series, okay, inside the diner, a new food series. School is supposed to be opening up here in about a week. Stupidest fucking thing you can imagine. But they're supposedly going to do it, right? Okay. And parents are going to send their kids back to school where they can pick up COVID and bring it home to you. I'm sure you'll love that. Okay? And so will their grandma, your mom, and so forth. All the high-risk people who probably will die. The kids probably won't. Probably. But some do. Okay? And, but it's bound to spread the disease. So, at this time, it's not a good fucking idea to do this in-person classroom. There's still a lot of options besides that. And one thing you will note here today is I got a new prop, okay? Coronavirus, or Corona hard seltzer. Alright, now I do not recommend this for the meal that I am going to bring out here. That's for the kids. This is only for adults, okay? The Alaska spring water, however, is good for everybody. Alright? It's the best water in the world, if you can get a hold of it. Alright? And I wouldn't count on that down in the lower 48. But anyway, my topic for today is, and like I said, it's going to be a series on the diner, is school lunches and lunchrooms. Alright? Now, even in the best years of my life going to school in the New York City public school system, the school cafeterias always sucked rocks. I mean, the food was really fucking bad. And I had some experience with bad food, you know. So, at the beginning when I came back from Brazil, I was around 10 years old, my mom would fix me brown bag lunches. See? Doomstead Diner, brown bag lunch. And Mom, she was a so-so cook, and she, you know, kind of slapped the shit together. And I wasn't more than a year before I took over the job of making my own lunches and brown bagging my lunches to school. And greatest decision I ever made. All right. And so I ate fairly well in my lunch periods, and those were the days I could actually eat. Okay. And this is another thing I wouldn't recommend for your kids, is a Bloody Mary, okay? Virgin Mary, maybe, but keep the Bloody Marys till a little later in life. Ah, good. So, you have this problem now where it's even worse, okay? The school cafeterias are going to be a great place for the disease to spread. All the food workers, despite the hairnets and the masks and all that good shit, are going to spread the disease onto the utensils, the food, etc. Alright? No matter how much they disinfect a place at night and so forth, there's always going to be some viruses around. And there don't need to be a lot. Alright? Only a couple can get into your system multiply up, and before you know it, you're in the fucking ICU. Alright? So, in general, the cafeteria is not a safe place. And besides that, the kids are closely packed together in general. I doubt in many states there will be much control over social distancing and spacing in the cafeterias. And so, if you are foolish enough to send your kid back to school this soon, then I have a few recommendations. Okay? And this is based on my years as a teacher, my years in being in school, and my years as a cook and fixer of food and so forth. School meals, okay? See, I got the right video up for a change. I don't know if it'll make it onto this video, but I got it. So anyway, I made for this opening episode a fairly typical school lunch meal that I used to make for myself before. I would do it in the evening before I went to bed and before I watched late night TV shows. Well past my bedtime. and so forth. And they were pretty healthy meals in general, okay? And food that I liked and I like to eat. So we're going to go through what we got in here. And let's start out with the basics, which is the sandwich. Alright? You see it? This one is a albacore white tuna sandwich with lettuce, tomato, mayo. Alright? And it's more overstuffed than the ones that I used to make for myself. But it's also on just one piece of bread, rye bread, cut in half, rather than two pieces of cardboard Wonder Bread. Builds strong bodies 12 ways. Which was the most disgusting bread ever. But I ate it for probably a good 5 years. Alright, before I discovered that there were better breads out there. And so it's on rye bread, which is my current favorite. And besides that, this rye bread is too big to fit in this baggie. Alright, and if I use the whole bread. So I cut the bread in half, and it's actually two halves of one slice of bread. And that fits very nicely in the baggie. And at the time, back when, Jurassic period there, of school age, we did not have Ziplocs or resealable bags like this. In fact, the bag industry of plastic was only really getting up to gear in those days. They had a kind of fold over bag that didn't really keep out the air or anything, but it did generally keep your sandwich insides from spilling all over the brown bag, which, if they were wet at all, could, develop a tear in the bag, and then your lunch goes all over the subway floor, and you're fucked, okay? No lunch. Just about as bad as getting your lunch stolen by big kids. So, in those years, I started using those baggies, but mostly I wrapped the sandwiches in aluminum foil, which we call tin foil, but it's not tin, it's aluminum, or aluminium, as the Brits call it. Or I use wax paper, alright, in those years. But now, if I'm making a sandwich that I'm going to take on the road, it goes in a Ziploc baggie. Alright, and I reuse these baggies. I don't use them just once. Okay? I rarely have to buy a box of baggies. Okay, so that's the main course for the lunch, is your sandwich. And, I mean, with very rare exceptions, did I have anything but a sandwich as my main course for my lunch. There were not microwaves in the lunchroom in those years. There weren't microwaves anywhere. I don't think there were microwaves until I got to high school, maybe. The first ones started coming out. So, reheating bowl food and so forth, that really wasn't possible. So it was 99% sandwiches that I ate. Well, maybe not 99%, but at least 90%. Okay, so sandwich, good, healthy stuff inside, tomato, lettuce, and tuna fish, good tuna fish. The white albacore stuff, not the cat food that you get when you buy the darker tunas. You can mix the two though if you want to spread it out and make it cheaper. That's not too bad. Okay, and then you got to have something to drink, and on some occasions it was milk. Okay, my mom particularly liked it if I took milk. Now the milk also did not come in plastic containers like this in those years. It came in cardboard containers, and the milk still tastes the same though, as far as I can remember. Anyway, and I kind of like the plastic ones better, even though I know it's bad for the environment. They hold up better in general, and you can reuse them for other things, which I also do. Okay, so that's the drink that's going along with this meal, and my drinks were not always so healthy. Okay, they weren't always milk and juice and whatnot. I had soda a lot. Especially Coca-Cola. I was a Coke addict from very early on. I mean, I was drinking Coke by the 6-pack even when I lived in Brazil as a 7-year-old. I just drank that shit like it was water, okay? Which it mostly is. But it has sugar and other shit in it, too. But in those years, it didn't have the high fructose corn syrup. They were using relatively real sugar, cane sugar and beet sugar and so forth. They weren't using the corn syrup in those years. And of course, go back to the 1920s, there was actually real cocaine in the Coca-Cola. That's when Coca-Cola was really fucking good. But I was not alive in the 1920s, so I can't testify to that personally. Although I wish I could. Okay, so we got a drink, we got a sandwich, and what else do we got here? Oh! Out of the brown bag. Always had a piece of fruit in there. And I didn't always eat it at lunch. Sometimes I actually ate it during class, part of it, and whatnot. And sometimes I would cut it up. And other times I would just bite out of it. Now I can't bite out of it. Especially a fucking apple. Right? I just don't have enough teeth. So with apples nowadays, if I do have a craving for one, I either have to cut it up into tiny pieces with a knife, great substitute for teeth, by the way, or I have to make something with it, like an apple pie or something like that, bake it, and then it softens it up and it makes it easy for the toothless, whose mouths have been ruined by criminal dentists through their entire lives, to eat. Alright? And so I can still eat apples. Now the only food that I really can't eat with my lack of teeth are nuts. And even those I can eat if I either grind them or make a butter out of them. You can make a butter out of almost any nut. You throw a bunch of macadamia nuts into a food processor, and you get macadamia nut butter. Okay, and you can spread that on a cracker or bread or whatever, and tastes like macadamias. Okay, does not have the crunch though, and I miss the crunch. And maybe one of these days, I'll find an honest dentist who will repair the work done by his criminal counterparts in other countries and here in the FS of A. And finally, in this meal, a dessert. Always had to have a dessert. And for this one, Hostess Ho-Hos. Ho 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 ho. And actually, in those years, I didn't eat the Ho-Hos from the Hostess brand. I ate Yodels, which I'm not sure who the brand was, but they're no longer available. But the Ho-Hos are the same thing, basically. It's a rolled up cake with cream, filling, sort of the same filling that you would have in an Oreo. It's sweet and fat, basically, and with a chocolate covering. And it goes great with milk. Okay? And, trading a Yodel or a Ho-Ho with somebody else, you could get good stuff. Okay? And, my lunches, because I always had something cool inside, were always a source of trading material and barter. Alright? And so, your kid can learn a good skill in bartering if they brown bag lunch. And I can't emphasize enough the safety aspect of this. Emphasize to your child that in the lunchroom they should sit as far away from everybody else as they possibly fucking can. Okay, you don't have to say fuck. Alright? And that their responsibility is just basically to get nutrition into themselves so they can finish out the day not hungry and pay attention to what's going on in the classroom, which likely will be a lot of fucking nothing as well, because that's what the public schools are like. I know. I was a public school teacher. Okay? So, you have to think about these things if you're going to send your kid back to school. And I still recommend that you don't do that yet. Use the online options that are available. Homeschool. You're probably fucking unemployed anyhow. And whatnot. And, for first through, say, 6th grade, I mean, it's just reading, writing, and arithmetic. Okay, the 3 R's. And most of you can do those things. I think. I don't know for sure. There are some teachers who can't do those things. A lot of them. Especially the arithmetic one. So, make do and watch the progress in your state, in your county, your city, municipality, your school district, etc. And, are there contagious cases being reported? Are there cases on the upswing? What's going on? Do you know? Make it your fucking business to know if you have a kid. Because you have no greater responsibility, okay? I mean, kids are even bigger responsibility than having a dog. Which I won't do. And so, I wish you luck as you negotiate coronavirus in the future. Eat well. Stop by the diner. I'm going to have more bag lunches that you can send with your kid. Okay? They're all good. All healthy. And, you know, your kid does not need to get shit from the cafeteria supply. Okay? Please. Take care. And that's all to do. This time, until next time, here on the Collapse Cafe of the Doomstead Diner. Hasta la bag lunch. Yum.